we've talked with so many people about what's going on today, and now I get to talk to the man that's being honored today.
I'm very fortunate.
Mr. Larry Castor. I'm very excited. So everybody has given their description of you, and I've been told what just great accolades, describing your nature and how you were back in the heyday and how you still are and what a great friend you've been to them. What was it like being involved with them in the martial arts?
Well, I think I came in as more or less an outsider. When I was in the service, I started in Chinese style. And most of the fighters, most of the people in this area was Taekwondo, or Texas Taekwondo as it was known then. And didn't have an opportunity to know who these people were. When I got out of the service, I trained at NAS Dallas, but that was only once a month, which is not enough to have a martial arts habit as often as I wanted to have it. So when I found this group from Alan Steen's group, he would meet at the National Guard Armories, and I was working and raising kids and going to school at night. And to have an opportunity to go to any of the National Guard Armories anytime you wanted to was like, I'm not sure what heaven would be like, but this was awful close.
Yeah.
This was awful close. And there's a special bond between not just the people in the martial arts, but the people who know what it can do for you mentally, physically. And most of my friends have had to use it at one time or another, or they've used it as police officers or in some manner saved their life as well. So I guess our attitude is more like a bloodkin, a bloodrin.
Yeah.
Those of us who love it and believe in it, it's kind of a different attitude from the people that take classes.
Yeah, there's a difference with someone that studies martial arts and someone that's a martial artist.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I heard a really cool story last night.
If it's real good, I hope it's true.
Well, I was told that you had some fight nights at your school that got so bad that you had to roll up a rug because it couldn't be cleaned.
That's true. We had, from all the schools in our area, we would meet, and it was like who's who. We had every martial artist, every champion in the world. That Thursday was the night they came over and got together.
Okay.
And it was heaven. I mean, we just had a great time. We banged on each other for 2 or 3 hours, enjoyed every minute of it. The people that could stand it, we praised them. The people that couldn't wouldn't come back. We've had a lot of people with huge reputations and names show up and become spectators. And probably a good idea when you have the Fred Wrens and the Skipper Mullins, Roy Kerbins, Ishmael Robus, all these guys, Demetrius Cervantes, all these guys that were legends fighting for the love of it and to show everybody else that they belong. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was one of the greatest nights of my life, and it happened every Thursday. We'd have people like Bob Wall and Chuck Norris and people come from out of town because they had heard from it. We had Bruce Lee visit. Bruce Lee didn't fight, but he visited. And we really seriously enjoyed it. And everybody that I know that was in attendance, they still talk about it. That was over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But we loved it. And a lot of people were training for full contact then. A lot of people were training for kickboxing. The only thing that I see recently that has inspired everybody and got that feeling back is the mixed martial arts, which I think is it's different from what a lot of people appreciate and like, but it's what it has done is brought the enthusiasm back. And the enthusiasm and people coming out to see it with sponsorship and 20,000 a show, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because out of that, there's going to be people get involved because of it, that it can save their life, it can change their life. So I'm happy about that, and I like to be in the situation where we started a lot of that. When we were doing promotions, spent a lot of time explaining who we were and what we were doing. The term martial arts, if you use the term martial arts, they'd say, is that some kind of marital conversation? Is that some kind of counseling? And if you use the Japanese word karate, they'd say, or the Texas word karate, they would say something like, "Oh, I know what that is. That's like y'all get at Joe T. Garcia's with cheese and avocado." So not only do we have to do it, we had to explain what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so we've seen some dramatic changes. I see that most of the schools have a lot of children involved. I would screen kids for a long time before I'd let them take in my class. I understand why they're doing it. But I don't think that I would enjoy dressing up like the Michelin Man and sparring. I don't think that would be on my agenda.
You're talking about putting all the padding on and
Absolutely.
everything? Yeah.
I love the fight. I don't care too much for, there's other sports like ping pong, tennis, that you can get involved in without hurting yourself if that's what you're worried about.
Yeah.
And if you look at people I've been involved in boxing, with the weight of the gloves and as many injuries as there are in those sports, and now they're seeing these martial artists just really pound each other. And the injuries are very, very few caused by injuries, caused by accidents in the ring. Most of them are caused by training.
This is
So you got to wonder the wisdom of adding 16 ounces to your hand. I always liked the idea of a handful of quarters was better than 16 ounces. But the end result is, are we really doing, are we really practicing safety, or are we making it where it's so unrealistic that we can't handle it?
Do you think the introduction of the safety gear hurt it?
I know who introduced the safety
Yeah.
gear, and I understand why they did it, and the sales was magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the comment I have about the safety gear.
Well, what I did notice about martial arts and the MMA especially was when it was bare knuckles when it first started, the injuries were just they happened quickly. You got cut or you got knocked out, and these guys could come back constantly and fight over and over
Correct.
again. These boxers that get pummeled over 10, 12 rounds with these big gloves,
It's scary.
They're getting brain damage from
Right.
it.
I have a lot of friends in the boxing world simply because that was something else that I enjoyed doing. When I was in the service, they had every Friday night, whatever ship you was on, wherever you were stationed, they had what they called smokers.
Mm-hmm.
And these are 5-rounders. And I have a gentleman coming tomorrow night that won everything on the West Coast in those smokers and trained some of the best people in the world, Mark Johnson.
Okay.
And he'll be here tomorrow night. He'll come by, or somebody will bring him by, and it's supposed to be a 15-minute conversation. And 3 hours later, we're talking about all the old guys and where they are and what they've done. There are a lot of long-term injuries because of the continuous pounding.
Mm-hmm.
Kit Norton's a friend of mine, and I can barely understand him now. His speech patterns is really bad. And I don't think that any of us are smart enough to know when to quit. My wife said that I stopped fighting because people got tired of coming to my annual retirement party. And she's probably telling the truth. But if we do start setting rules and regulations of how many fights you can have before you can quit, I think that's the way to go. I think the safety equipment, 90% of it is sales promotion. I don't think it really protects the fighters. And I would like to see some real studies done.
Well, personally, from my experience with the foam protection, is that causes more cuts than a regular canvas glove. I mean, it's just
the foam is easy to manufacture. Fred
Yeah.
Wren has manufactured as much as anybody on the planet. And Fred's a dear friend of mine. I'd rather fight Fred Wren than eat ice cream, and fat people like ice cream. But the foam was, once they decided what they were going to do, that was a molded material that was easy that you could mass produce.
Mhm.
And Fred's made a lot of changes in his simply because he's a fighter and knows what works and what doesn't work. When June Ree started making it mandatory, and groups in California said no head contact and other rules and regulations that I'm still pissed off about, there is an attitude and an opinion that followed with that. And it wasn't the safety of the fighters, it was a sales promotion.
Well, more people would do it. I would
Absolutely.
imagine because it was
Absolutely.
safer. More people would do it. It didn't separate the men from the boys anymore.
No, it did not. It did not. You know, I remember before kickboxing was what we call full contact.
Mm-hmm.
And the embarrassment was in a finals, you could challenge your opponent and say you want to waiver the contact rule. Well, what was he going to say? You know, oh no, you know, they wouldn't waver the contact rule. That was magnificent. That was a lot of fun. The reason being the people that would do that knew that part of martial arts is an art, a sport, and self-defense. And if you don't spend as much time on blocking and protecting yourself, you're going to get hurt. If you do it correctly, only a very few should get in, and you should be able to slip and move with them as well. I don't think we're teaching it in some situations like we used to. And I think we have more talent, and the kids in the mixed martial arts are in superb condition, unbelievable condition. I even understand that they don't get drunk the night before a fight. I find that hard to believe. I brought in a full contact fighter one time, Johnny Lee from Detroit, and Johnny was excellent in competition, but he was scared to fly. And he had to have a little drinky poo before he could get on the plane. And the next day when he got in a 5-rounder in the old NKL, Chuck Norris's organization, in about 30 seconds he was out of gas. So the way we learn is through pain sometimes. You know, we learn the right way and the wrong way and things you absolutely don't do.
That old mentality of the blood and guts days of martial arts, do you think there are pockets of it anywhere that you can still find?
I think the people that are interested in the real challenge, me against one person, my ability over his ability probably only exists in the mixed martial arts right now. Pride, the Japanese group, has done it for a long time, and it's probably has the best rules and regulations because they know of everything that could go wrong and the things that need to be fixed. And there's some good organizations throughout the world that are coming up with some excellent forms of the martial arts. But, you know, the thing that I've always trained my people is if it's a good technique, we steal it. If it's a bad technique, we laugh at it. And if you have trained in a situation where you've trained in several different styles, you know what works and what doesn't work, and so do they. So the opportunity of really putting your ability to protect yourself as well as to do offense is what I think it's all about.
Wow. You know, how am I going to word this here? I'm try to think of the best way I can do this. Your commitment to martial arts, did it? This might get a little touchy.
Not a problem.
Okay. Your commitment to martial arts, did it diminish after Demetrius Havanas passed away?
No. The situation with Demetrius is that we had worked doing techniques and sponsorships everywhere to try to get sponsorship and money to get it up where we wanted it. The day Dick Cook was the president of the Tropicana, we signed a contract, a preliminary contract the week before, where we did 4 events a year with the Tropicana, 2 in Atlantic City and 2 in Vegas. These people were making over $100,000 a year. They finally got where we thought they needed to be, and one terrible plane crash in Ripley, Tennessee, I lost all those friends. Not just fighters that I'd trained and people I'd worked with, but friends that I'd known for years and years and years went down at the same time. Not a month later, because of the friendship I have with other people, Fred Wren stepped up and said, I'm starting the Kick organization. I believe in the same thing you believe, that there's fighters out there that don't get a chance to fight. There's a bunch of people that are great that's never going to get the chance to fight for some of the organizations, not because they're bad organizations, but the way they're set up and the way they're utilized. If you come into this organization, we can do the same thing. So it didn't diminish. It was just the hurt of spending that much time, that much energy, getting the sponsorships and training somebody like Geek to get, I know the term is Greek, to me he is geek, to get the term down. For all he went through and every way he trained, and the star we built around him, the image we built around him, to have it dissolve in one plane crash. My love for the martial arts did not change. It took me a long time to get over it. And the reason is because we'd worked so hard and done so much and then watch it dissolve in one situation. But then again, if it hadn't been for Fred Wren and Roy Kerbin and some of the other guys say, you know, we can still do this. It's going to take us longer. We're going to take, and that's what brought me into the Karate National Council of Kickboxing, and we went on from there. So very hurtful. But I had a lot of people other than Demetrius that was depending on, or I wanted them to get in that organization. When an organization fails, like the NKL, it's not the people that are directly involved. It's all the people right behind them that get wiped out, that are as good as the reputation of the people that's there, but they never get the opportunity. That hurts. And moving from that organization to the next organization was difficult, but you got to move forward. You got to move forward.
I've had everybody that I've interviewed so far come up and describe you in a few words. What about your description of all your friends that are here today to honor you? What would you describe them as?
Well, one, I'm not surprised. We've been through some stuff together. We are truly blood brothers. And I'm there for them, and they're there for me, and it'll always be there. We're getting so old right now, we have to explain where we're at and how we got there.
Okay.
But the attitude hasn't changed. I'm very fortunate to have been around and trained and turned out students and worked with the people I've worked with. And the people you love, that doesn't change. People you have no respect for, they won't show up, don't care.
Well, sir, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to do this interview with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for doing this.